This is not a winning argument for Governor Newsom. And because it's not a winning argument for him, it's not going to be a winning argument for Mayor Karen Bass, and it's not going to be a winning argument for the Democratic Party. Where would I get that from? Let me read some stuff to you.
Even Stephen A. Smith just dropped a major explanation for why Gavin Newsom's presidential hopes may be breaking down. And it's more surprising than most people think. Newsom has never fully denied the talk about running for the White House. But Stephen A. says one ignored truth could ruin everything. One factor hardly anyone is discussing. This goes beyond normal politics. It's a perspective you really need to hear. As always, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's get started right now.
It's not just on the broad issue of immigration, it's on the specifics as well, in which the American public is with Donald Trump and the Republicans, and that is why Donald Trump is eager to take on this fight and eager for those scenes out of Los Angeles.
Did you hear that, Governor Newsom? Did you hear that? I know you're about to leave office soon. I get that. But did you just hear that? America is with Donald Trump. America is with the GOP on this issue, okay? He's gaining traction in the midst of distracting us from all the other issues that involves him right now because of what's going on in the streets of Los Angeles.
What we're seeing right now, as voices like Stephen A. Smith point out, is a clear shift in America toward Donald Trump. No matter how Gavin Newsom tries to frame it, his strategy has been clear from day one. Paint Trump as disliked, weaken his supporters, and turn that story into fuel for himself. On paper, it sounds smart. In reality, it's backfiring fast. The public isn't buying the message. Americans from many walks of life are moving closer to the president on key issues. While Newsom's carefully planned messaging fails to connect, what was meant to be a strong political move is now falling apart, revealing a disconnect between how Newsom thinks people feel and what's actually happening nationwide. In this brutal political chess game, Trump looks to have the upper hand as Newsom's ambitions face a tough uphill battle.
Undocumented. So what happens here is that you have people that are looking at the migrant crisis, looking at undocumented immigrants, looking at illegal immigrants, seeing them use the healthcare system. Ever heard of Medi-Cal? And then remember with California and Newsom, they were talking about how billions were spent.
Stephen A. Smith presents a broader and more uncomfortable picture of how illegal immigration and undocumented populations are affecting California, calling the situation deeply concerning. Beyond headlines, he points to long-term effects many ignore. Strained public services, overwhelmed health systems, and growing pressure on schools, housing, and law enforcement create a ripple effect that touches the entire state, reshaping its economy and society in ways that demand attention. Stephen A. argues that when you step back and see the full picture, it's easy to understand why many Americans believe firm action is necessary and why they are moving toward President Trump's position. This goes beyond party politics. It focuses on leadership, responsibility, and the urgent need to protect national stability. In Stephen A.'s view, California's struggles reflect a wider national problem, one that continues to push public opinion in Trump's favor.
Donald Trump has lost cases before when states and others have filed lawsuits against him. Some of the executive orders that he's issued has not been successful. And we know that his efforts in this particular instance may end up being derailed. But that does not mean that Governor Newsom is not playing directly into his hands. He himself said, this is exactly what Donald Trump wanted. Well, forgive this rhetorical question. Then why the hell are you giving it to him? Why the hell are you playing right into the hands of Donald Trump?
Stephen A. Smith doesn't hold back. No sugarcoating, no mercy. In his view, Gavin Newsom is running straight into a trap set by Donald Trump, and it could be the silent force damaging Newsom's presidential future. At the center of the storm is the growing fight over ICE and federal actions in California. A legal and political mess that may be hurting Newsom's national image more than most realize. Newsom has taken Trump to court, accusing his administration of federal overreach by using ICE and even federalizing parts of the National Guard without state consent. He argues these moves break state authority and threaten civil rights. But Stephen A. believes this clash is exactly what Trump wants, a loud culture war that paints Newsom as reactive and combative, not presidential. His point goes deeper than surface headlines, and it's a blind spot almost no one is discussing.
There's a reason he won a popular vote. There's a reason he won the Electoral College vote. There's a reason he won every swing state. There are people within the United States of America that want our immigration crisis addressed and want the situation resolved somehow, some way. And a person that seems eager to bring a resolution to the table is President Donald Trump. Now, others may challenge that because they may say we had a bipartisan agreement when Joe Biden was in office that Donald Trump convinced the GOP to nix because he wanted to use it as an issue to favor him during the election. Well, damn it, it worked. It worked. And I got news for you, Governor Newsom. It's working now.
Stephen A. Smith speaks plainly and without holding back. Immigration is a continuing crisis shaping the national debate, and it's an issue that cannot be ignored. The impact of illegal immigration is argued constantly, from strained public resources to serious security and enforcement concerns, and it remains a top topic nationwide. But according to Stephen A., it's mainly President Trump and the GOP who are taking action, while many on the other side seem willing to avoid the problem. Then there's Gavin Newsom and the Democratic Party. Stephen A. argues that instead of offering real solutions, Newsom and the DNC choose to fight federal immigration enforcement, block federal actions, and turn the issue into political conflict. They may think they're standing strong, but in reality, they're playing right into Trump's strategy. What looks like resistance may actually help Trump, strengthening his position while making his opponents appear weak and unprepared.
This is not a winning argument for Governor Newsom. And because it's not a winning argument for him, it's not going to be a winning argument for Mayor Karen Bass, and it's not going to be a winning argument for the Democratic Party. Where would I get that from? Let me read some stuff to you. This is on the state of California alone, just on some research note here. Current deficit. California faces a projected $12 billion. This is according to research. California faces a projected $12 billion additional budget shortfall for 25-26, meaning 2025-2026, on top of previous gaps, marking at least the third straight year.
Gavin Newsom is also facing strong pressure on the economic side, and it could turn into a serious problem for his presidential goals. Stephen A. Smith recently pointed to telling numbers that suggest both Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass are struggling to control key economic indicators. From rising living costs to slow job growth and growing budget stress, the numbers paint a picture that does little to build voter confidence. In politics, perception matters, and Stephen A. believes these economic weaknesses are hurting Newsom's credibility nationwide. For someone aiming to be president, looking unable to manage an economy as large as California's is a major warning sign. When added to problems with immigration and other major issues, these economic troubles threaten to push Newsom's White House dreams off track, leaving him open to critics and rivals eager to exploit every weakness. Annual spending now exceeds revenue by $10 to $20 billion, forcing reliance on reserves, borrowing, and accounting tricks. Without reform, state debt could reach $42 billion. Rainy day reserves. The governor plans to pull $7.1 billion from reserves, leaving about $15.7 billion by mid-2026. So now the state is dipping into emergency funds. Okay, rainy day reserves. Based on the numbers Stephen A. Smith highlighted, California Governor Gavin Newsom appears to be throwing a last-ditch Hail Mary as the state sinks deeper into chronic overspending and rising financial strain. And the impact on his presidential ambitions is serious. The numbers tell a harsh story. California's budget is under heavy pressure. Key programs are stretched thin, and taxpayer dollars are being pushed to the limit. Yet Newsom and his team continue to show a concerning lack of financial discipline and responsible management for a state this large and complex. Stephen A. argues that if Newsom can't firmly control California's massive budget, it raises real questions about his ability to run an entire country. These financial mistakes, combined with failures on immigration and economic policy, suggest that Newsom's polished image as a capable, forward-thinking leader may be cracking, leaving his long-term political ambitions exposed to growing criticism and possible collapse.
And then remember with California and Newsom, they were talking about how billions were spent, on illegal immigrants, and as a result, there's a shortfall there, and you're looking for federal assistance. These are the kind of things that are going on in the state of California. Gavin Newsom knows this better than anybody. So why make this argument as vociferous as it is against the Trump administration and then engaging in challenging the head of ICE to come and arrest you? Why would you do that, Gavin Newsom? Why would you do this? Here's the quote. He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. That kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go. That's Gavin Newsom daring the head of ICE, Mr. Tom Homan, to arrest him.
According to Stephen A. Smith, Gavin Newsom comes across as smooth to the point of feeling artificial, overly calculated, and that image is now working against him. Stephen A. says Newsom knows exactly how much illegal immigration is weighing down California's economy, infrastructure, and public services. Yet he refuses to face it directly. Instead of offering real solutions, Newsom chooses spectacle, even daring former ICE Director Tom Homan to arrest him, despite committing no crime and not being undocumented, according to Stephen A. That moment says everything. It makes headlines but fixes nothing. It doesn't look like leadership. It looks like a performance. Politics turned into theater designed to excite supporters and dominate the news cycle. And Stephen A. puts it simply, if that isn't performative politics at its purest form, it's hard to say what is.
Tom Homan, in case y'all don't remember who the hell he is, he's been a guest on this show. And this is a man, okay, that is not messing around. And he has made it very, very clear that he is not beyond arresting elected officials. He is not beyond arresting sitting mayors, sitting governors, whomever. He doesn't give a damn. He's not playing. And Donald Trump just spoke publicly today saying if he was Tom Homan, I would take Gavin Newsom up on his offer and arrest him. But again, in case you don't remember who he is, let me show you who he is. This is Tom Homan months ago, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Take a look at who this man is and what he stands for with the issue of illegal immigration. Check it out.
Sanctuary cities are sanctuary criminals. And we're going to hold them accountable. And Pam Bondi, now that she's the Attorney General, she's already filed a lawsuit.
Tom Homan views the issue from a much tougher and more direct position. To him, sanctuary city policies aren't symbolic gestures or moral statements. They are real obstacles that interfere with federal law enforcement. Homan argues that when local governments protect violent offenders and repeat criminals from federal authorities, the consequences reach everyday life. Crime doesn't just increase on paper. Fear spreads in neighborhoods. Trust breaks down and instability grows. He insists this isn't about party politics or ideology, but about the basic duty government owes its citizens to keep them safe. According to Homan, refusing to work with federal enforcement doesn't protect vulnerable people. It creates gaps that allow dangerous individuals to stay on the streets. And until leaders are willing to face that reality instead of defending failed policies, he warns that true safety and peace will stay out of reach for many communities.
I think Gavin Newsom is running for president.
I think he is the likely alternative.
That's interesting because I like Gavin a lot. Now, I hope he runs for president because I think getting to the national stage would help with the one thing I have trouble with him about, which is sometimes he's way too cuckoo, woke left.
Even Bill Maher, far from a conservative voice, has warned that Gavin Newsom has gone too far into woke politics and it's starting to cost him. Maher argues that ideology has replaced common sense leadership in California, pushing practical solutions aside and leaving the state stuck with policies that simply don't work. From rising crime to an economy clearly under strain, Newsom's answers have failed to deliver real results. And instead of improving, conditions seem to be getting worse. Maher's criticism hits harder because it comes from within Newsom's own political circle, showing growing frustration among moderates and longtime Democrats. Whether it's dealing with illegal immigration or stabilizing California's shaky economy, Newsom's actions are increasingly seen as symbolic rather than effective. At best, his leadership feels like polished messaging and constant appearances, but light on real outcomes people can feel in their daily lives. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you liked what you saw, hit the button and subscribe for more content like this.